Okay, I thought we had a look at Ravel Piano Concerto today. This was a request from someone who's been watching my channel. And I hesitated doing this one because I'm not very good at it and I don't like it. And I don't know too many people who do like it, so I guess that's a good reason for doing it. In any case, I'm going to try and give you some suggestions about how to practice it, some things that have worked for me, and I hope they'll work for you as well. It takes a lot of patience, a lot of persistence, a lot of willpower, and in order to finally get this one to feel comfortable. At least it did for me. And I know a lot of my fine professional colleagues who feel equally uncomfortable with this particular excerpt. I could tell you a lot of stories, but I digress. Let's get to how to practice it. There are so many ways to practice it. You just need to find a few that work for you. When I'm practicing, what I do is I address the first things first. So what we have here is a very fluid line that goes up and down through the range, and it moves pretty quickly. So one of the first things I generally do is I'll practice the line. And the way you do that is just slur. You may have noticed also I included the mute at the beginning. That's not always in the audition, but it's definitely in the performance. So you need to figure out how to do the choreography to change the mute and get back in without chipping anything. Okay, so I'm going to slow the tempo down a little bit. This is the tempo that I think I just played. Okay, I took that down to 98 from 116. And what I'm going to try to do, and this is what I suggest that you do, is make a smooth, even line of sound through all the notes. And you might need to go a lot slower than this. Now, that was not particularly smooth. It didn't feel smooth. And I want it to feel very, very fluid. So I might need to take it slower than that. And sometimes it's really good to work without the metronome, just to get the feeling, the connection moving directly from the center of one note into the next note, so that it feels like you're playing one note. And this is very tricky. It's like a mountain road that has a lot of tight turns in it. So you need to learn how to take those turns very smoothly. So I'm just going to practice it a little bit just for sustaining the sound with balance. What I did, and I hope you heard it, that first interval is one of the things that makes this particular excerpt challenging. You start on a note and then you immediately are on the next note. But it's almost instantaneous. So you have to figure out how to do that smoothly. And you heard me, I think, working on the smooth transition. Then when I get to the next interval, now I'm going to the upper register. So I need to do that smoothly as well. Now you have to be honest with yourself when you're working on this. It can be quite strenuous if it's not easy for you to play in this register. So don't strain and don't struggle. This just creates a lot of debris that you'll have to clean up later. So just enjoy the process, rest as often as you need to, and smooth it out. Now you heard how quickly I was able to go from kind of bumpy to pretty smooth all the way through. Now we'll do the continuous section of eighth notes. Now I feel like I'm going da-dee-da-dum, and I can't do that fast. I can go dum, dum. That's exactly what I want it to feel like, as if it's just a vocal gesture. How can I get it to feel like that? Well, slow it down. Now it's starting to smooth out. That's critically important. And remember, this spot, you played that opening, you're excited, everything's going pretty well, and then you have that little rest in there, and then you have to go da-dee-da-dum. So unless that's very, very secure and you're confident of it, that can set you up wrong for the whole rest of the excerpt. And any of you who have played this in auditions know psychologically it goes by really fast. So you have to kind of calm yourself down. Now, there are many, many details to work on. But for me, that's the basic one, is connected sound. Now I can start working on articulation. Now, the first thing I do with articulation is I think, what do I want? What's the style? What's the attitude? It's kind of snap, crackle, pop. This is very French. It's, I wouldn't say it's staccatissimo. No, it's marcato and light at the same time. Marcato, but not heavy. Those are words. You need to experiment with it, listen to good examples until you can get that quality of sound. What we're doing when we practice, especially excerpts, is we're trying to find good ingredients that we can include in the final musical product. And the articulation here is one of the most important ingredients. So that's something you just work with your ear and practice it a little bit. Do it even on single notes until you can get the sound right. Then start taking it through the entire range and see if you can maintain the same quality of articulation. If you can't do that, then you're probably not ready to really practice the whole excerpt as a continuous piece of music. You need to do some preparatory work. I find I need to do a lot of preparatory work on a lot of things. And when you do, then it makes playing a lot more fun. Okay, what's another thing that many people struggle with? Tempo. This is very literal. So I had the metronome on it before, and I had it at 1/16, which is, I believe, what it says in the score. That's kind of skittery at that tempo. Can I smooth it out? All right, now I'm getting someplace. Oh, that metronome is annoying. But it's a very useful tool. Now, what most people do in this section is they either drag or they rush. And that's because if they're single tonguing, which some people are perfectly capable of doing, there may be a slight tendency to slow down as you get more articulation continuous, as in this part of the excerpt. If you're double tonguing, there may be a tendency to rush because it's easy for the tongue to go faster. So in any case, you really need to be very diligent. So as all your teachers have told you since you first started playing the instrument, slow practice. But I want you to think about this. It's not just about going slower. It's about going slower so that you can hear and feel what's going on much more clearly and accurately, and then address these issues. So it smooths out that road, that path that's going through all the notes. That's the first thing. Now you're listening for the shape of the line as an expressive tool. So if I play it all even, and you hear most trumpet players playing this way, so now those notes are pretty much the same intensity. But for musical expression, and this is very rare to hear, but will win you an audition in a big orchestra if you can play your trumpet well, is the gesture, which is so much of what French music is all about. So I'm going to exaggerate a little bit just so you can hear it. Okay, you get the idea? That is, now you're seeing like a wave, a big wave, and then it kind of eases off, and then it comes back. Now, that may be too complicated, but if you start practicing that at the beginning, when you're first working on the piece, in order to get that feeling of the music and see how easily you can let it happen, instead of forcing the loud and pulling back on the soft, just play it very, very smoothly and evenly, then it starts to become part of the way you think about the music. So all these things are really helpful. And you see how much work is involved with this. Now, I'm going to go on to the next part of it, the last part of this particular excerpt, because what I was just talking about is evident here. So you can probably hear I'm going yum dee da dum dee da dum dee da 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 dum dee da 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 dee da da dum, because to me that's what the music wants to do. It makes it much more like a dance. So there's accentuation involved. When you hear a lot of people play this, and you can listen for it in your own playing, because you're jumping from in the staff to above the staff, there might be a tendency to squeeze that upper note. So the lower note sounds nice and full and strong. You got a good attack on it. And the upper note is kind of squeezed and pinched, and more dull sounding and softer. And it's exactly the opposite of what the music wants to do. So that whole principle of where the emphasis is, where you're leaning on the note, where there's more energy in the sound, and then when the energy is releasing, it's not only for lyrical passages. It's in this too. It's in all music. So when you hear something that's very static, it sounds very even. It sounds very mechanically satisfying to listen to it that way, but it's not as expressive. It doesn't have the buoyance and the dance and the freedom and the joy that really needs to be in this music. So there's an awful lot more in this, but I hope that practicing these few things, and hopefully some that you will invent on your own, will help you to gain greater access to the music that's in this. And I also hope that if you haven't already had the opportunity, that at some point your playing will be at a level where you get the chance to play this in a performance, because it's much easier than doing what we were doing here today, and much more fun. Okay, time to go practice. I'll see you later on. Have a great day. Bye-bye.